Hello students, welcome back to your biology class. In our previous classes, we discussed what the cell actually is. We discussed about the discovery of cell, all the discoveries related to cell, as well as we discussed why it is known as structural and functional unit of life. Now, today we will discuss the structural organization of cell, means that how the cell actually is organized, means what all components are present in the cell. So, let's discuss about it. Structural organization of cell. If we talk about general structure of cell, it is nearly same in plants and animals, but in plants and animals it is somewhat different. Some differences are there. So those differences are just regarding the cell wall, but the general structure of cell, it is same. So general structure in animal cell, it is divided into three major parts. So the membrane, that is plasma membrane or cell membrane, first part. Then second one is nucleus, and third one is cytoplasm with cell organelles. Although we will discuss about them in detail, but plasma membrane, here we will discuss very briefly about all these parts. So plasma membrane or cell membrane, it is the outermost covering in animal cell. Although it is present in plant cell also, but in plant cell there is an additional membrane present outside the plasma membrane, that is cell wall. For protection it is present there. So plasma membrane or cell membrane, it is also known as selectively permeable because it allows the entry or exit of selected particles in and out of the cell. So this plasma membrane is protective in nature. Then second part is nucleus. So the outermost covering is plasma membrane. Then second part is nucleus. Nucleus, it is the control center or control unit of cell, because it is responsible for holding genetic material, as well as it is responsible for controlling all the activities performed by different cell organelles. So that is why we can say that this nucleus is the control unit. The second part is nucleus. And the third part is cytoplasm with cell organelles. You know that outermost covering is plasma membrane. Then inside the plasma membrane there is a liquid matrix. Liquid matrix that is responsible for holding several different parts of cell. Those parts are cell organelles. So that matrix is cytoplasm, which is responsible for different functions of cell. See, we know that cell itself, this is the smallest part, smallest unit of every living being. Cell is the smallest unit and the basic fundamental or structural unit. So why we say that it is structural or fundamental unit? Because functions which are performed by any living being are performed by the cell. But have you ever thought about this, that all the different functions which are performed by the cell, is that cell alone responsible for performing those functions, or there are several other parts present inside the cell, or there are different components present inside the cell responsible for those functions? Yes, there are different parts inside the cell. We can say that there is division of labor in the cell, means whole labor or whole functioning is divided equally into different parts or components present inside the cell. So those parts or components which are responsible for performing different or specific functions are known as cell organelles. So very important function is there of those cell organelles. We will discuss every cell organelle in detail. So initially we can divide any cell into three parts, that is we can say that structure of cell into three parts, that is plasma membrane, nucleus and cytoplasm with cell organelles. So First of all, we will discuss about the plasma membrane. As I told you right now, that plasma membrane is the selectively permeable membrane. It is outermost covering of animal cell. Why animal cell? Because in plant cell it is cell wall. It is also known as selectively permeable or semi-permeable, because selectively means which selects, or semi means which choose half. It means that only certain useful substances are allowed to enter inside the cell, and the substances which are toxic or harmful for the cell are exited out. It means that it selects, it has the tendency or that capacity by which it can select the particles to enter inside the cell as well as to remove from the cell. So this plasma membrane is made up of proteins and lipids. Proteins, you know, lipids, that are molecules of fats. Now, what is the structure of plasma membrane? As I told you that mainly two components are there responsible for making that plasma membrane. Those two components are proteins and lipids. You can see in the structure that it is a combination of proteins and lipids. You can see here that bilayer structure. It is a bilayer structure, means two layers are there. Here you can see that these red colored, these are lipid molecules. Lipid molecules, they have a head and a tail, and here also head and a tail. So these are combined or joined in two layers, and embedded within these lipid molecules there are certain proteins. So proteins and lipids are responsible for making these plasma membranes. Now let's discuss the functions of plasma membrane. As I told you that basically it is the selectively or semi-permeable membrane which is responsible for making the cell protective, or we can say that for maintaining the protection of cell. So first function is that it acts as a mechanical barrier which protects the cell contents and maintains the internal environment of cell. Means that barrier, it is that barrier which is present between the internal part of the cell as well as its external environment. So the substances which are present inside the cell are not allowed to go out of the cell, as well as the substances which are present in the outer environment are not allowed to enter inside the cell without any reason. So that is why it is a mechanical barrier. Then second thing is, being selectively permeable, plasma membrane permits only certain substances to pass through. Means that it allows only selected particles to enter or exit out of the cell. Then third function is, because of the flexibility, the plasma membrane, it enables the cell to engulf large molecules and food particles. You know, very important example we can discuss here, it is of amoeba. You all have heard about amoeba, you all have studied about it, that it is a unicellular organism. And as it is a unicellular organism, that single cell present within it, or that amoeba itself, which is of only one cell, is responsible for performing all the functions. So what would have happened if that amoeba, it doesn't have any flexible plasma membrane? So we can say that the flexibility of plasma membrane is only responsible for allowing those large molecules or the food particles to enter inside the cell. That you must have heard that there are certain false feet, those pseudopodia which are present. So those pseudopodia are responsible for engulfing food particles. How the amoeba is able to engulf those particles, or how the amoeba is able to enlarge those pseudopodia? Because of the flexibility of plasma membrane. As well as it happens in our body also. If the cell is if the cell want to capture or engulf any particle, it has to it means that plasma membrane has to be flexible and it has to show its flexibility. So that's why, because of the flexibility of plasma membrane, it is able to engulf particles. Now, as I told you that plasma membrane is the selectively permeable and substances move in and out of the cell because of the flexibility of plasma membrane. But what process is responsible for entering or exiting of substances in and out of the cell? So, substances can enter or exit the cell across the plasma membrane by following processes. The first process is diffusion. Diffusion means that random movement of particles from higher to lower concentration. You know that if there are two boxes and if something is more in any box and less in other box, so definitely if you want to make a saturation or if you want to balance the things, you have to take the thing from higher to lower one. That's why then only it can come to its normal or saturation point. So same thing happens in case of diffusion, osmosis and endocytosis, phagocytosis also. So what is diffusion? It is random movement of particles from high to low concentration. Then osmosis, it is the process in which substances move from high to low concentration, but without a semi-permeable membrane, osmosis is impossible. So here the difference comes that diffusion, it can happen in anywhere, but the condition is that from high to low concentration. But in osmosis, one thing is must, that is semi-permeable membrane. Then third one is endocytosis and phagocytosis. You know, endo means inside and cytosis, this word is related to the cell. It means that endocytosis is the process where the substances move from outside to inside. Now, phagocytosis is the process where the particles are engulfed by the cell. So, here in amoeba, the process is phagocytosis. Now, diffusion. So, first process that we discussed is diffusion. So, diffusion is the spontaneous movement. Spontaneous, it is fast or random movement of particles of a substance in a gas or liquid. Because why we have not included solid? Because solid particles are not able to show diffusion. So, from gas or liquid, from a region of its high concentration to a region of its low concentration until uniform concentration is achieved at both ends. That is what I discussed right now, that until the uniform concentration is achieved, the movement continues. Means we have to make a saturation point, we have to reach the saturation point. Until the concentration becomes uniform, the motion of those particles continues. Then what are the examples? You know, transpiration process occurs in plants, means the removal of water vapors, excess water in the form of vapors, that is the example of diffusion process. Then exchange of respiratory gases from outside into our respiratory tract, that is also our that is also example of diffusion. Then third one is smell from flowers. It is also because particles which are responsible for the smell, those particles also diffuse from high to low concentration. So these are the some of the examples related to diffusion process. Now let's discuss second process, is that is osmosis. So osmosis, it is the movement of water molecules from selectively permeable membrane from a region of high to low concentration. It is osmosis. That only I told you right now, that it is movement of molecules from high to low concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. Now what is important here, that osmosis is that diffusion in which semi-permeable membrane is present. It means that we can call osmosis as a diffusion, but diffusion cannot be called as osmosis. Now see, endocytosis and phagocytosis. These are the third process which are responsible for movement of substances from outside to inside and inside to outside the cell. So this endocytosis, taking in macromolecules by the cell, it is called endocytosis, and engulfing solid food particles is called phagocytosis. So again it is specific. Here we can say that phagocytosis is a type of endocytosis, but endocytosis cannot be called as phagocytosis. Now, here we will discuss, because out of all three processes, osmosis is a very important process and it is also given in detail in your NCERT. So we will discuss about it in detail. So what is osmotic solution? Very important thing is, osmotic solution means that when there are two aqueous solutions which are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. Aqueous solution means a solution which has water in it or something liquid. So those aqueous solutions are known as osmotic solution. Means if you have taken one solution in one beaker and other solution in second beaker, so those two aqueous solutions, they are, if they are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, then they will be termed as osmotic solutions. Now here one very important thing is to be discussed, that solution, it is a component of solute and solvent. Firstly, you must know that what is solution. It is a component of solute and solvent. Now what are solute and solvent? Suppose I have taken sugar and water. Out of sugar and water solution, sugar will be termed as solute, because something which is dissolved is solute, and in which it is dissolved is solvent. And after dissolving solute into the solvent, it becomes a solution. So here solution is the component of, or we can say that components of solution are solute and solvent. Now why we have discussed about it here? Because we have to discuss about three different types of solutions. So what happens when a plant or animal cell is placed in a salt or sugar solution in water? There is a movement of certain particles. Water molecules move from inside to outside or outside to inside, depending upon the concentration of solution. Means if suppose that you have taken more sugar into that water, if you have dissolved more sugar into the water, the concentration will be different. If you have dissolved less sugar into water, then concentration will be different. So based on the concentration, there are different three types of solutions which are related to the cell. So we will discuss these three types: isotonic, hypotonic and hypertonic solution. So types of solutions. So we have discussed that there are three types of solutions: hypotonic, hypertonic and isotonic. So let's discuss hypotonic solution. See, first of all, you have to keep one thing in your mind, that hypo word is related to less. Hypo is less. And one more thing that has to be taken in your mind is that always we will use more or less or hyper or hypo for solute. It means that always we will use the word tonic for solute. That is just for our convenience we are using. So hypotonic solution is the solution in which what is less? Solute. And if solute is less, it means solvent will be more. It means it is the solution in which water is, or that solvent is more and solute is less. So the solution, hypotonic solution, you can see in the diagram. See, here, see, this is the beaker. This is a beaker, and these are certain particles. So these are solute particles. And the blue colored is solvent. It means that, and this is the cell. Always you have to keep in your mind that when we will use hypo, hyper, iso words, these words will be used with respect to the cell. Means when the cell is placed into a solution. So it means that this is the cell, and in this beaker there is a solution, and in that solution the solute particles are less, and if solute particles are less here, it means solute particles will be more inside the cell. Because why? When we will say that solute particles are less, when they are more inside, we are comparing it with the cell. So solute is, in the solution solute is less, and in the cell it is more. Now what we have discussed related to the osmosis, that when there is movement from high to low concentration and movement of solvent, it means where solvent is more in this solution, so there will be movement of solvent from here external medium to internal. So what second type of solution is hypertonic solution. So as I told you that hypo word we used for less, here hyper word is for more, and tonic again we will use for solute. It means the solution in which concentration of solute is more as compared to the solvent. Or if we will talk about this with respect to cell, then the concentration of solute in the beaker, you can see number of solute particles are very high. So more solute particles are present in the beaker as compared to the cell. So if solute is more here, definitely solvent will be less, and if solvent is less here, then solvent will be more inside the cell. So it means that if water molecules are moving from inside to outside, it means that it is in the condition hypertonic solution. So of the two osmotic solutions, one having more solute and less solvent, it is known as hypertonic, and the solution is concentrated. So what happens if a cell is placed in hypertonic solution? What happens? Because concentration of water is more here, so it moves from inside to outside, and result is shrinkage, because whole content is moved outside. So it results in shrinkage of cell, and the process is exoosmosis. Now third type of solution is isotonic. Now what is iso? Iso, it is same. It means that the concentration of solute and solvent is same in both the mediums. So nearly we can call that it is same. Exactly it is not same, but nearly concentration, osmotic concentration of both the solutions are same. It means that the number of solute molecules present inside and outside are nearly same. So although there is a movement, some movement from outside to inside and inside to outside, so you can see here that one arrow is moving from inside to outside and one arrow is from outside to inside. It means that number of water molecules moving from inside to outside and outside to inside are nearly same. So that's why there is no change in the size of cell, no shrinkage. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching.